Imagine a man so formidable that even Hollywood's toughest stars tread carefully around him. A man whose presence shifts the air on a film set, whose every move carries the weight of real danger. This isn't a character from a blockbuster. This is a real person, forged in the crucible of life's hardest battles, whose story demands your attention. His name doesn't matter right now. What matters is the raw power he wields. It's force so undeniable it's left fighters broken and the industry whispering in awe. Let's dive into the life of a man who didn't just play a warrior on screen, but lived as one in every sense. Born in the gritty streets of a 1960s urban jungle, this man wasn't handed an easy path. While other kids chased dreams of fame or fortune, he was learning to survive. By 7, he wasn't playing with toys. He was training his body and mind to become a weapon. His childhood wasn't about cartoons or playgrounds. It was about discipline, sweat, and the kind of focus that turns a boy into something far more dangerous. The streets taught him early that survival wasn't a game. Every punch he threw, every move he mastered, was a step toward becoming untouchable. By his teens, he wasn't just training, he was fighting for real. Not in the polished dojos of suburbia, but in underground rings where the stakes were cash and survival. At an age when most kids worried about homework, he was stepping into bare-knuckle bouts, facing grown men who fought to eat. Trophies, he didn't care about them. He'd give them away to impress a girl, because shiny medals meant nothing compared to the money that kept him alive. Each fight sharpened him, carving a young man who didn't just learn to fight, but discovered he was built for it. His body, a towering blend of muscle and speed, became a tool for destruction. And he was terrifyingly good at it one day. A stranger recognized him not for a movie role, but for a fight that ended a man's career. "You retired me," the stranger said, voice heavy with the memory of shattered bones. A broken collarbone, cracked ribs, a fractured hip, the kind of damage that doesn't just end a match, but a livelihood. This wasn't choreographed violence. It was real, the kind that leaves scars you can't see on a red carpet. The man had faced professional fighters, men trained to take punishment, and left them in pieces. One even tried to sue him, claiming he used some secret technique. But there was no mystery, just raw, undeniable skill. That lawsuit cost him thousands when money was tight. A bitter reminder that being too dangerous comes with a price. Hollywood called in the 1990s, casting him as a comic book anti-hero, a role that made history. He wasn't just acting, he was the real deal, bringing a presence to the screen that made stunt coordinators nervous. Directors expected a typical action star, someone who needed coaching to look tough. Instead, they got a man who could do every move his character did, no doubles required. His fight scenes weren't just convincing, they were unnerving. Crew members whispered about how the air changed when he stepped on set. Even the industry's biggest tough guys, known for roughing up stuntmen, suddenly dialed back their bravado. One legendary action star, infamous for his on-set aggression, became noticeably cautious around him. Why? Because this man didn't need to pretend. His danger was real. Everyone felt it. Here's a question to keep you hooked. What happens when Hollywood's carefully staged world of fake punches meets someone who doesn't know how to fake it? The answer lies in the tension that followed him from set to set. On one film, a co-star with a reputation for bullying tried to assert dominance. But when they shared a scene, that bravado vanished. The crew noticed it, the unspoken respect, the careful distance. It was like watching two predators size each other up, one realizing he wasn't the apex anymore. This wasn't about ego. It was about survival instincts recognizing something primal, something lethal. If this story is hitting you as hard as it's hitting me, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Stories like this remind us what true strength looks like, not just in muscle, but in character. Let's keep going. His danger wasn't just physical, it was mental. He had a switch, a psychological trigger that flipped him from calm to lethal in seconds. Most people spend years learning to tap into that kind of intensity. For him, it was instant. A gas station confrontation proved it. A man got too close, words turning sharp, threatening. In a split second, he assessed the threat height, reach, intent, and acted. A light tap to the face, barely a strike, silenced the aggressor instantly. To him, it was restrained. To anyone else, it was a glimpse of what he could do if he didn't hold back. That moment wasn't about anger. It was about survival programming hardwired from years of real fights, not movie ones. The industry didn't know how to handle him. They loved his talent, but feared his authenticity. He wasn't playing a role when he fought on screen. Every move carried the weight of someone who'd lived it. Stunt teams started treating his scenes like live combat drills. Watching his eyes for signs he'd crossed into that lethal mindset, directors stopped pushing him to get angry for scenes. They realized that kind of coaching could unleash something they weren't prepared to control. His calm professionalism was the scariest part, hid a capacity for violence most people couldn't fathom years later. The comment he made about a martial arts legend sparked outrage. He broke down a hypothetical fight with clinical precision: size, weight, reach, technique. Fans called it disrespect, but fighters understood. He wasn't boasting, he was analyzing, the way he'd always done in the ring. The backlash missed the point. Hollywood wanted mythical heroes, not men who spoke in brutal truths. They wanted choreographed danger, not someone who could end a fight before the cameras stopped rolling. His honesty about what it takes to win a real fight clashed with an industry. It's built on fantasy. By the 2000s, he'd starred alongside some of the biggest names in action films, breaking barriers as a trailblazer. But the roles that earned him the most praise weren't the ones showcasing his raw power. Instead, it was a satirical take on old-school action flicks, a comedy where his danger was played for laughs. The message was clear. Hollywood was more comfortable with him as a caricature than as the real thing. They could market a parody, but a man who embodied genuine lethality, that was too much. His authenticity, the very thing that made him extraordinary, became a liability in a world that preferred its tough guys scripted. What does it mean to be truly dangerous in a world built on illusion? That's the question his career forces us to ask. He didn't just break bones, he broke barriers, becoming a pioneer for representation in superhero films. Yet his net worth, modest compared to lesser talents, tells a deeper story. In an industry that rewards manufactured toughness, being the real deal came at a cost. He refused to dilute who he was, even when it meant smaller paychecks or fewer roles. His authenticity wasn't just a strength, it was a rebellion against a system that wanted to tame him. In the end, this man's story isn't about fame or fortune. It's about a kid from the streets who turned himself into a force of nature. A man who walked into Hollywood and made it rethink what danger really means. He didn't need to shout his strength, his presence did that for him. From underground fights to blockbuster sets, he carried a truth the industry couldn't fully embrace. Real power doesn't need a script. If his journey inspires you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this story. Let's honor a man who stayed true to himself, no matter the cost, and remind the world what it means to be undeniably, unapologetically real.